Hi everyone, thanks for joining today's webinar for the Batch 4 site review. My name is Jordan, I'm one of the co-founders of WordPress.com. We do this webinar every week. It's for people who are currently working on their Batch 4 or are thinking about working on their Batch 4 or who are building sites in general. Couple of things I want to go through today. First one is about getting more work. It's just a bit of a note to everyone. Second, we'll review some sites that are ready. And then I also want to talk a bit about the keyword research. So the first part, getting more work. Batch 4 is currently the final batch you can take in WordApp. We are planning, of course, to introduce more batches afterwards. But batch 4 is as far as you can go at this moment. What that means is that once you reach batch 4, you have a guaranteed income of €150 a month. And in most languages, it's actually quite a bit more than that. And that is made up out of two things. One, it is access to projects, of course. And two, it is getting access to websites that you can get through us where you can build them completely. And since you know how to upload the order sheet, do the keyword research and all those things, you're self-sufficient there. So you don't need anyone else. What is kind of important here, and this is not only for batch 4 people, this is also for people on batch 2 or batch 3. Talk to your elite WordApp or country manager and make sure you have a dialogue going there. What they're always looking for is to get a bit of an idea of what kind of capacity they have in terms of deliveries, so that they can accept more projects coming through. So if you want to work, talk to your elite WordApper, make sure that they are aware of what you can do. They will tell you about the ongoing projects. They will ask you also about some commitment on those projects. So be sure you work with the elite WordApper there. Some weeks, of course, it can be that you don't have much time. Other weeks you have a lot of time. Talk to your elite WordApper there so that they know the capacity and they can also communicate it to the client. So if they have a lot of capacity, they will, of course, do their best to get more tasks in so that you can always do something. So it's really important to keep communicating there with your elite WordApper. Anyone any questions about that? Feel free to unmute yourself. This is not a very fixed webinar, so Linda is saying she cannot hear anything. Can you guys hear me or not?
Yep, I can hear you.
Great, then we're good. So then Linda, turn on your volume. So then we have the site review. Does anyone have any sites that they want me to review? I have one site from Linda, Tracy, or Brian. Do you guys have any sites? I don't think so. And Claire, we looked at yours this morning. You're still working on things there. So I think we just have Linda's site to look at today. So I'll just close the presentation here. Oops. And we go to this website. So this is the site that Linda has been working on. What do you guys think? Any feedback?
Yeah, it looks nice.
Looks nice, okay. Brian,
Yeah.
what do you think? Tracy? You can write in the chat as well, of course. Any things that you guys think can be improved or that look a bit funky?
I don't know if you can read the statement so well.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, the first thing that stands out a bit to me is this email address that is hanging below the menu. I think it's a bit of, it's not really a standard place where you would normally see an email address. It would be either on top of the menu or it would be in the footer. So I think the menu is in a weird, the email address is in a bit of a weird position here. So that is something that I would change. I don't think this is very good here. Also, of course, the white here on the image, I would do some kind of background, maybe behind the text, just so that it stands out a bit more. Do an overlay on the image, for example. The image is good, of course, but I'm afraid that the text is not super clear right now. And it's, of course, one of the most important things. When people end up on your site, they want to see what is this site about. So if that is unclear for any reason, they will bounce and you won't get those people back. So that is something I would change. Let's go through it a bit more. I'm not really going through the text. I will do a couple of notes on that later on in the webinar. So this is a bit funky. So our site offers up information about, so there's some sections here. I would really expect to be able to click these images, and I can't, which it's very unclear to me, like where am I supposed to click here? So I'm apparently supposed to click here at the top, but since all the text is in the same font, the same font size, it looks as if I just can click on the images to see more. I can't. That is a bit funky in terms of user experience. So I would make probably the titles, I mean, leave them as they are maybe, but make it clear that this is clickable. For example, different color or something like that. And this one would be way smaller, just normal text size. You have an internal link, horse racing tracks. Let's see if it works. That works. Frequently asked questions, okay. So these open up. Not bad, but again, it's, so when you're building a website, there's usually a lot of like default things, the way websites work. So what I said already, email address, you expect it to either be in the footer or at the very top of the site above the menu. Same a bit with FAQ. FAQ, you're like expecting to see it in a list so that it is clear that they open up, or you're expecting just to see the full text there. So I think it's a bit funky here. It's not 100% clear right away that you can actually open these up. Also because there is no drop-down image next to it. So I think that looks a bit funky. For the rest, I think the images are really good. So there's a lot of images, of course, on this site, which is nice. So that is very good. What do we have here? This is again a bit funky. So this is completely full width, which is fine, but it makes it a bit difficult to read. It looks a bit broken. So I would also center this somehow a bit more, or at least give it a bit more space on the left and the right. Good links here, of course. Follow our blog, some links to blog posts. That is good always. So those are some of the things on the homepage that I would change. Let's check this one. Anybody see anything weird here? I'll give you guys a few seconds to look at it.
The font's gone to black. It was white before, and it's really quite small. Once again, difficult to read.
Yes, I agree. I mean, that's for sure. It's not 100% clear what page am I on. So if you take, I mean, the site that I look at quite a bit in terms of benchmarking, the Swedish site, here also not super clear maybe. Do I have any other sites? Like I would do some kind of background behind the text so that it stands out a bit more, and of course bigger here. There's a bigger issue though here, and you can see it in the address bar already. Do you guys see what I'm talking about there, Linda? Linda cannot talk, so now Linda can talk. Linda, do you see in the address bar what is going on here? So somehow there's spaces in the URL instead of hyphens. So it's adding this %20 thing, which is really awkward. So the URL has not been set up correctly. Let's see what happens if I try this. But somehow you have spaces in the URL, which will make that this page is not going to rank like this. So this URL works as well. So you did something very funky there. You can see it here if you hover over in the left bottom corner as well. There's spaces in the URL. So that needs to be fixed. For us, I think it looks very good. This one I would, I mean, do it in a different, maybe white with, I mean, a bit of a background over the image so that it becomes clearer what this is about. Right now, all the attention right away goes to the image and not to the text at all. It's very unclear what this is actually about. Well, these are all links. Bit of an unconventional way again of doing links on the pages. So these icons, I mean, an info icon, okay for information, but not really for a blog. I think it's pretty unconventional to have these as links here. So I would not make these links. I would do a read more or something to do internal links there, but not this way. It's too unconventional. People don't expect this to be a link. And you just, when people scan through the page, it wouldn't be right away clear what this is about, especially with the text here as well. I would do it as some kind of list items maybe or something, so that it becomes clear that these are internal links. So here the footer has changed, it seems, compared to the home page. Why is there a different footer here? In the, yeah, what is going on there? Green, and what is on the other one also? Yeah, okay. There's some white spacing below here. I don't know why that is really.
I don't know how to get rid of it. I've tried and better tried.
Oh yeah, let's look at it together and see what is going on there.
Yeah, sorry, I've had to come on my phone for some reason. I can't. Zoom just keeps kicking me out on the laptop.
Right, there's a recording afterwards, so you can take a look at it there as well. I think here the same thing with this page. I mean, again, above the fold, the title really falls away, and you want the title to be super, super clear so that people know what this page is about. For the rest, images, again, very, very good. Same here, the links, very unconventional way of linking. Doesn't work in website design. Always go for the conventional way of doing things. Let's look at the blog. This site, of course, has a couple more blog posts already than before. Good. This is a bit funky.
How do you get your footer onto the blog pages?
Same way, really, but I can go through that in a bit.
I put it on, but it's not turning.
Okay. So this tag has, for some reason, a dot in it, which looks a bit funky. I think here in the sidebar as well, of course, you have some recent posts, archives, categories, very good. I think tags, since these pages actually have tags, it's a very good way of adding them here so that you give it a bit more substance. Because you have 3 posts now, 3 posts times 3 tags probably, so you have a lot of tags going on there, makes the site a bit more interesting to read. Let's log into the site and see what's going on there. Here also I see so in the URLs, we never want the dates. So the permalink settings here, they haven't been updated correctly. So that is another thing that needs to be fixed there. So Linda, you already said you had some struggles with the footer. Do you have anything else that you were struggling with that you want to go through together?
I had to change the template because it wouldn't work on mobile or tablet. And I spent ages trying to get the tablet to look right. And then when I looked at it on my tablet, it didn't look right, but it did on the computer. So when I turned it back to what it was, which looked broken, worked on the tablet. And I have a mini iPad. So it worked on that small screen. So I haven't a clue what was going on there.
I mean, very often, if you start changing a lot of things in the default template, and if you use a default template, they're set up in a very specific way. So if you start making changes there by adding like items to sections and things like that, it is very quickly becomes that you start breaking things. So either stick to the template or do your own. But if you start adjusting templates too much, it becomes a very complicated thing. So for the footer, did you use WordPress Pro to create the footer in the theme builder, or did you use the theme footer?
The Elementor, I use the Elementor block.
Okay.
The free block.
So you have here a footer, I guess, or not? No. So you did the footer, like on every page you created a footer, or?
No, I copied it over.
Ah, okay.
It's in the, when I saved the templates, it was actually in the saved templates, but I hadn't realized.
I'm just opening it up here, bear with me.
Oh, sat with my headphones on, that's why I can't hear you properly. As the headphones are set up for computer, not the phone.
Let's see what you did here. Okay, so you have the footer here. So when you do footers on a WordPress site, there's only, two default ways of doing it. One is using the theme settings. The theme settings can be a bit hidden somewhere, but most of the times you can find them here under Customize. The only other way that we do footers at WordApp is using Elementor Pro and using the theme builder of Elementor to do footers. And you never do those on a page level. You do those as a global template. And the way you set that up is in Dashboard. And I went over this a couple of times already, so it seems that people still struggle with this. There's something here called templates, where you have something called the theme builder. And in the theme builder, you can create templates, for example, for your header, for your footer, for search results, error pages, and things like that. And you can set rules on those. So if I were to create a footer here, I'll just create a very simple footer so that Linda can change this afterwards. I'll just call it footer. And then I'll just take one of the default templates that is available. So default, it right away brings you to these footer blocks that you can reuse. So I'll just take this one for now. You can pick another one later if you want. And then I say, yes, I insert this. Yeah, sure. So here you can make changes to your footer like you would do with a normal Elementor page. You can check it on different devices as well. And when I publish this, it asks me if I want to put a display rule on this template item. So I can add a condition there, and it says include it on the entire site. That means that for every single page on the site, it will automatically add this footer at the very bottom. So if I say yes, and I save and close this, now if I go to the site, at the very bottom, I have a footer. And if I go to, for example, the blog page, it also shows the footer. If I go to a blog post, at the very bottom, it also shows the footer. Does that make sense, Linda?
Yeah.
So when you're doing footers, Elementor gives you the most options in terms of customization and making it look really, really good because you're not focused on the widgets that WordPress standard uses. So I would really advise always to use this format of doing it. And when you set a display rule there, you don't have to copy it over from page to page. And when you're doing new pages, you don't have to change things there. Or if you want to make some change, for example, in this case, let's say it's an e-shop. If my opening hours change, the way you set it up, Linda, I would have to go through every single page and change the opening hours, which is very tedious.
Yeah.
So this way, you set it up. So I'll leave this one here so that you have an example, and then you can change it from there.
Yeah.
The header, I think you did, something there as well with, how did you do the header?
Through Customize.
You just use Customize. Okay, yes. Yeah. So you can do that the same way. You can also use Elementor Pro for that, or you can use the default theme settings like you did here. That is also fine. So you can use either or.
So that just I caught the tail end of this. So the email doesn't go there because that's what I understood. It went on the left, but it has to go on the top, does it?
I think, when you're building a website, so the URLs remind me that we talk about those as well. Mm-hmm. There is some default standard website rules. And if you go to any website in the world, and you're looking for an email address, it's either at the very, very top of the site, you will find the email address, like contact options, or you find it in the bottom in the footer. So here, for example, in the footer that you created, or like in this example one, you see it's here at the very footer. You have it here at the very footer as well. Below the menu is just not a very conventional place to put an email address. It looks a bit broken. There's a lot of white stuff next to it here, so it doesn't really seem to be in place. That's why I would move it. I would either take it away altogether because we already have an email in the footer, or put it above the menu. Same here with, I mean, these internal links that you have created here.
Could I make the pictures links?
You could, but it needs to be clear, like, where do I click? And for me right now, I mean, our site offers up information. I don't even see these as links. That's one. So it doesn't look to me as if there's anything clickable here. And if I were to click anything, I would click the images.
Yeah.
So
it'd be better putting it as a list.
I would put it probably as a list, yes.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, then you have the whole question about should it be internal links there or not? We have already an internal link in the template, so I'm not sure if those should really be separate.
Internal links in these.
Yes, yes.
Right. Oh, that's okay. I thought we needed more. So, is there a nice document somewhere with some of this basic information? You know, for us non-website builders and nobody around to ask. I don't even know a website builder.
Yeah, I mean, like your coach can help you, or me in this case in the webinar. So this is where we talk about it. And for the rest, it is if you use a template, and everybody who builds a website, nobody does it really from scratch. I mean, check the template and the default things that come up there. So if I check the theme builder for the headers, for example, you will see that, let's take a header.
I didn't even know about this. This is all new to me. And so much easier than the way I did it.
So here I have a bunch of different header formats.
Yeah.
And you see that, let's take one that has contact information in it. This one, for example. It's at the very, very top. You have social links and you have some address and contact information. But take another one here. Same thing, contact information, social media at the top. Anything else here? Here again. Same thing, contact information at the top. Take this one, where is it? Here.
So you could basically just put one in, either in the footer or the header is what you're saying.
Totally fine, yes. But you want stuff to be in a logical place.
Yeah.
So if I go to, I mean, name any website, like let's take bbc.com or something. I mean, if I'm looking for contact information here, where would I look? First at the very top, can't find anything, then it must be in the bottom. And then here I have contact the BBC.
Yeah.
It's on any website like that. If you start looking for it, you will find stuff in those places. Here I have a bunch of images. I mean, I can click on the image. So what do I expect to happen? Either the image would open up in full size, or most probably I would actually open the article. If I click it, it opens the article in this case. So you want to, I mean, those default rules like search is always in the menu in the top. Usually when it's an English website, when it's left to right, you have it in the right side. So you don't want to change that. You don't want to put the search in the middle of your menu. It just wouldn't work. About us and blog is always at the end of the, so contact and support, the blog, they're always on the right side of the menu. It's never that you start with contact and then you have the home page and then you have the blog and then something else. So these are the standard design rules that you want to keep in every website that you build. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
So about the URLs, I had something as well. Let's open up WP admin here. So when you set the permalink settings, always put them on post name. We never want day and name. Just because it's a cleaner URL, it's easier to share, it just looks nicer. I really don't know why WordPress would still use all these other options. So it's always post name. And make sure that you go through all the other settings as well. We have a video where we go through all of the steps you have to take. And those are not completed here either. So people can leave blog posts, leave comments on blog posts, which we don't want.
Yeah, I think what happened with this is I put one template up, did all the customization, then changed the template.
Yes. So always make sure you run through the checklist with all of these things. There's videos for it. And even me, I've built literally hundreds of websites. I still have to go through the checklist and make sure that I actually follow everything. Otherwise,
what I said was
you're going to forget things.
Yeah, I did all of that, but then I changed the template and I didn't realize that changes the customize all that I'd done.
Yeah. So double check it. Just be sure that everything is there.
Okay, that makes sense then.
So then I saw one question coming into the chat about fonts on the site. So fonts is, there's a lot of options there, of course. I wouldn't overthink it too much, but two things that I think are quite important when you're building a website like this. One, always use locally hosted fonts. So don't use Google fonts. They make your website a lot slower. So when you're choosing the fonts on a website, make sure that you use the system fonts and not any of the Google fonts that are available, because they just make it way, way slower. Second is when you're using fonts on a site, keep one font for the entire website. Don't try to do stuff with different fonts. You can at times, but it just overcomplicates everything. It makes the site slow. So I really wouldn't spend that time on doing that with these particular websites. Keep in mind that when you're loading a website and you have fonts in different, what's the word for it? So this is in bold, for example. This is also in bold, but different in terms of the how thick the boldness is. Those would all be loaded as separate fonts when you're loading a website. So if you have a lot of different things going on there, it will make your website a lot slower. You have 4, 5, 6 server requests. That is really not necessary at all. So try to keep, one font per page, and try to keep, bold and non-bold. That's enough. You don't really need to do much else there. It just makes the site look way more complicated. It's of course, it's a bit of a personal preference as well. And personal preference is difficult to train in. But if you start going through other websites, and that's what you really have to do when you're building these websites, any of the big brands, any of the news sites and things like that, you see that there's a lot of more white space. The design trend a lot goes towards simplicity and making it very clear what pages are about and where people can click and things like that. So keep in mind that when you're building a site that you don't overcomplicate things there, because it's a time pit. You can spend hours on a website like this trying to get the font just right and the sizes just right and things like that. It's really not necessary. Just make it extremely complicated for yourself. Does anybody else have any other questions about these sites? Either by talking or in the chat, if I can find the chat. So Robinson is asking, can we make the header into a slideshow? Yes, you can, of course, but when it comes to conversion and things like that, so conversion meaning you want people to take a certain action on your website, for example, click through a form or contact you or something like that, sliders are terrible. They take away all people's attention. They're just going to look for the images and not anything else. It usually also makes it very hard to actually see what the page is about. So unless you use a slider for news or anything like that, I would just stay away from sliders altogether. I wouldn't do it. I much prefer having a static page where a static header image with a very clear overview of what the page is about. And that is, for example, this Veganista site that I was showing. It's very clear what this site is about. Vegan, here it says like food inspiration and things for lifestyle, recipes, blah, blah, blah. So it very easily makes clear what is this site about. And of course the image fits there as well. So that's one of the things with this famous racehorses here. the image overtakes everything. It's very difficult to read what this is actually about. So I think this is good. It should just have some kind of background color so that it stands out more. Good to have a subsection here with what this page is about. Could be some list item there as well, just to give some bullet points about the whole website in general. But I wouldn't do any moving sliders. Anyone else? Any other questions?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Your phone won't stay still. Hello, am I still on?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Okay, so if there's no more questions, I'll be closing it up. Actually, I wanted to go through one more thing. That's the keywords. When you're building your batch 4 site, whatever language it is, I really advise that you actually talk to your elite WordApper after you've done your keyword research and before you upload the task to WordApp. Keywords, of course, are probably one of the most important things in the entire site, because those are actually the keywords that will start generating traffic to these sites, and that's why we're doing it. We're not building a site about famous racehorses because we want to talk about famous racehorses so much and know everything about it. We actually want to rank for these keywords. And when you're selecting keywords, make sure, I have an entire webinar about this, so find it on our YouTube channel. Make sure that you select keywords that you can actually rank for and that are not having like, I mean, for example, Linda, when she was building this site in the blog post, we talk about different horses, which is great. One of the horse names that she wanted to write about was actually a keyword with over 1 million searches. And also, if you would actually Google the keyword, you see that there's all kinds of different results coming up, part about the horse, part about all kinds of other topics with the same name. It just makes it near impossible to rank a keyword like that. So pick keywords that you can actually rank for, but also don't aim too small there, especially if it is the keyword of the website. So check in with your elite WordApper when you do the keyword research before you start writing, just to make sure that everything is on track there and that you're actually using the right keywords. And of course, before you do any of that, check the history of the site so that you actually know what it used to be about. That's really all I wanted to say. Do you guys have any more questions, or that was pretty much it from you guys as well?
I had a query sort of overlinking Gem and something we discussed, John, which was about the previous site having races on the menu. Mm-hmm. I've actually put it as horse races rather than horse racing in the UK. Mm-hmm. And changed it the way you said, but I put horse races because when I put check races again, obviously cars, dog races, every race you could think of was coming up.
Yes, so, of course.
So I didn't just call it races. I call it, as you can see, I've changed it to horse races.
Yeah, that is great. Horse races in the UK is fine. It's just that the menu should, I mean, if possible, you want to rebuild the pages from the old site where needed, so that you still have those index, so that you still have things going on with that page. It just makes things a whole lot easier there.
So would you change that back to races, seeing as it is a site on?
No, horse races I think is good here. This is fine. Yes.
The other thing was, could we just check my redirects, because I haven't done one for a long time. And I found the plugin and I put it in and I got the redirects, but just to check.
So did you set up any specific redirects or did you do an overall 301?
I did an overall. Sana helped me get the redirects.
Okay.
There are a lot of horse names that we haven't got up yet. It's in tools.
So it doesn't seem to work.
It's in tools.
So I went to this page does not exist and it brings me to a 404 page instead of redirecting me to, for example, the home page or whatever we are supposed to set up there.
Right, so what have I done wrong on here?
Let's see.
So I put the URL in of the redirects I got, and then I put the home page in.
No, so that is fine. So you, instead of doing an overall redirect, you did redirects for specific URLs, and those work. So that is perfect. Yes, that is good. Yeah.
All right. Okay, that was my last question.
Okay. Let me just check the chat if there's anyone else there. No, nothing, I think. Let's open it. All right, so that's that then. Thanks a lot for joining, guys. If you want to have anything else next week, please join again. It's 4 o'clock Amsterdam time every Monday, and we go through some sites and see if anyone has any questions, and we can discuss, of course, other WordPress related stuff as well. Thanks a lot for joining. Have a nice day, and if you haven't done so, complete your badges, ask for your reward points, and then hope to see you guys next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Have a nice evening.